Hey guys, welcome back to another portrait tutorial. In this video we're going to make a vector design and give it shadow and highlight effects. Before we get into it, be sure to have this sketch right here I have set up for you guys so you can follow along. But for now we're just going to draw over this, and I want to demonstrate to you guys how you can make your own vector design. And so we already kind of covered creating a landscape portrait in one of my first videos, but that one was more like a tutorial to help you create portraits with multiple different tools. Okay, so what we're going to do for this video is we're going to just create our outlines in our sketch we have set up, and we're just going to do this in like separate videos, so that way we don't have to cover all that fit in one video and waste too much time. So I'm going to create a new layer, new document. We're going to have letter, and we're going to go to place, Vector Beach Sketch. It'll find that in your Dropbox, or my Dropbox. And yes, it'll kind of look that way at first. So we're just going to click Control minus, and we're going to center point that right about there. And now we're just going to lock that layer, and we're going to create a new layer. I'm going to just call this background. Alright, and now we're going to call this sky, is what it's going to be called. And we're going to get out our rectangle tool first. And we're just going to trace all over that, and now we're just going to give it no stroke for the time being. And it will kind of have a stroke later on when we fiddle with it a bit more. And we're going to give it a kind of sky, bright sky color. That looks good. So there's one cool thing you guys can do if you want to trace over your outlines. You can go over here to transparency and click multiply, and you can see over your lines, or over your background, or this background. So that way you can get a better depth of what you want to trace over. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to get out my ellipse tool, because the first thing we're going to do is the sun. Hold shift, or don't hold shift, just kind of center it just right with the sun there. I'm going to give it no fill for the time being, just a stroke. We're going to give it actually a magenta stroke. So now the next thing I want you to do is get out your line segment tool, and we're going to trace. Actually, before do anything else, just create a new layer, call this sun. There we go. Now we're going to just copy that, Control C and Control V, or Command V or Control C on a Mac. We're just going to delete that for now. Alright, now we can get back into it and get out your line segment tool and trace, hold shift, trace over that. Right about there looks good. There we go. Now we're going to get out we're going to select all these and get out our shape tool, shape builder tool. And now what I want you to do is click Alt or Option on a Mac and go over that. You can delete all that, and there you go. You have a perfect half circle. And now let's just try to center that just right with the horizon, because we're going to make the horizon later. We're going to make this in separate layers. I'm going to just lock that for now. And what I'm going to do is give this a bit of a stroke, a fine stroke. About 4 points will do for the time being. And now what I'm going to do is, what we're going to do now is just, use the pen and curvature tool now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trace over this now, make it perfect, good enough, and deselect, Trace over it again. Right about there, looks good. Cool. Now, another thing we're going to do is going to go to the stroke panel over here, and we're going to make this a round cap so that way it'll look a little more vectorized. And we're going to be doing this within the same layer right here. So now we're going to trace over this. Right now, double click that, just stretch that out, curve it a bit like this. Like that. That. And you don't have to follow along with the lines. You can just kind of fiddle with it if you want. You know, mess around with your own lines for the time being. Now we're going to give that a rounded. Yeah, it's already rounded. Cool. Alright, now we're going to get out our curvature tool, and we're going to trace over these waves to make it kind of give it a wavy effect. So that way we don't have to, you know, fiddle with the pen tool a bunch. We could just do it easy and simple. Right about there. I'm going to do that. And if you need to fix these up a bit, make them a little more curvy, and you don't want it to curve around in a weird way, just double click that point, that anchor point there. Double click that again, right there. Now we're getting here. Some of these are going to need to be fixed up, obviously, because some of them are acting a little funny. Now we're going to, almost there, get done. After this, we're going to go ahead and fiddle with the branches over here. There we go. That looks good. Alright, now we're going to get out our smooth tool over here. Forgot where it was. Where is it now? I know it's here somewhere. Sorry. Bear with me, guys. Sorry. Oh, it's over here. Good. Cool. Alright, now you're going to trace over that. I might have added too many points to the curvature tool in a way, but this is probably not the best tool to use, so I'm just going to go with the... Actually, I want to just start over real quick. Hang on a minute, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. So what I did was I accidentally added way too many anchor points, so try to minimize the anchor points you use, guys. Try not to use too much, especially if you're trying to, you know, trace it perfectly and make it look good. It doesn't have to look exactly like your outlines. You could just kind of, you know, trace over it some and, you know, kind of go a little off track. So anyway, next up we got... We're going to use that. We're going to get to that seashell last, but we're going to do the branches next. We're just going to use the pencil, and that should be totally easy. So what I'm going to just do is this. And no, we're not going to trace over this, you know, totally well detailed. Anyone can just do this, you know. Doesn't even need an outline, actually. Alright, there. Almost there. Got it. Alright, that's looking good. Next one, on to the next one then. And you can add as many anchor points as you want. It's going to be all curvy like in corners like this anyway, so it's not going to look perfect because it's kind of like a lightning bolt-ish curvy look is what it's got going on here, and it's not really like supposed to be smooth or anything. But you can smooth it out if you want, but we're probably just gonna give it kind of a smooth detail with maybe more like the stroke panel. Alright, there we go. Select these. And I'm just going to give these kind of a rounded joint. There we go. That looks good. Alright, cool. Now we're gonna create a new layer because I wanna fix up the horizon here, and I'm just going to go ahead and create the horizon right over the sun here. Hold shift and right about there. Looks good. Alright, cool. We're not going to give these a certain color today, but we're just going to fiddle with the lines a bit. Alright, that looks cool. And the reason I'm doing a new layer over here, because, well, we're going to be using the shape tool for this tutorial, and it'll kind of mess around with the outlines a bit, and it'll the sun will kind of go over this line here, and it will be in front of it, and it won't, you won't be able to recover this from being in the front of this. So we're going to need to use a new layer, and we're just going to call that horizon. I think I misspelled horizon there, but anyway. Next up is the seashell. You don't have to follow along with this. You can just click off the video, but I'm just going to fiddle around with it. I'm just going to zoom in. Or, well, actually, don't click off the video just yet. I meant to say that we're just going to do the seashell next. But you don't have to follow along with this. You could just skip ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and lower down my anchor point. Or my stroke. Double click on that. Alright. And this should be easy to do right here. Seashells aren't hard to draw. They're a little hard to sketch, but they're not hard to draw here in Illustrator. Nothing is too hard in Illustrator. And there we go. Perfect. That looks a little funny and off, so I'm going to just fix that up a bit. Alright, cool. Looks good. And now, I'm going to click Control 0, and we're going to select all our outlines here. And we're going to go over here to Stroke, and right about here, we're going to go and pick out a width profile. And what I'm going to do is going to select... Well, I'm not going to select my branches, actually. Let me just select the certain lines we need to get done. First, we're going to just select these right here. Not the waves. We're just going to select these few lines right here. And we're going to go over here to Stroke. Or you could go over here. That's also over here. It's cool. So what I'm going to choose is Width Profile 1. That looks perfect. Well, maybe not for the sun. That looks a little off. Yeah, that looks pretty good right there, I think. Does it? It doesn't look quite as good, so I'm going to choose something a little more like this Width Profile. Hang on a minute, guys. Bear with me. Gotta find the perfect one. Ah, yeah, now that one looks good. Alright, that is awesome. And yes, the mountains look good. Perfect. Waves look great. This is a little too hard to see. It's really hard to see that. Does that look good? No. Let's try this one. Not there. Still not there. Second thought, let's just leave that one out, because we don't really need to fix that seashell up. And then we're going to give this kind of a width. We're going to give this kind of width. Yeah, that looks awesome. Cool. And you don't really need to fiddle around with these, but we're probably just going to have to anyway, because it'll need to look a little thin at the end there. Yeah, alright. That looks good, too. Actually, you know what? Let's try fixing that one up a bit. You can click off the video now. I'm just fiddling around now. Yeah, that one looks pretty cool. Alright, so that is it for this tutorial, guys, so I will see you in the next video.